current live patch. You play solo queue at home right now, and this is what people are playing on right now. 1-1 on the scoreboards here as we look for what's going to be coming through this game. Sona dropped off Aatrox just the same.
So no Sona Taric going to be coming through. Yuumi taken off the table as well, remaining at that 100% presence. Still just seen it the one time from Biofrost, but that was enough for no one to want to see it again pretty much in these pro games, as it was very, very impressive in that match.
Waiting to see what else comes through. Yeah, we'll see if anyone ever does pick Yuumi back up, if it's ever allowed around. But, you know, we'll wait to see when the last time CLG did something aggressive. Of course, they're one of the teams that would have been probably willing to let OpTic play Sona themselves, as they were trying to counterpick it back last week against TSM. It's OpTic throwing lots of support bans at Biofrost.
And the Yuumi discussion is pretty interesting because I do tend to think you can still play a lot of hard engage stuff into it. You know, Leona and Nautilus and these types of champions. We even, I believe, saw earlier today in LEC, Poppy played against it. The W can actually block Yuumi from jumping back and forth off of people. You can get stunned with that because it is a dash. So certainly the potential to shut down some of the playmaking that Yuumi has as a result of that. But the rest of the draft has been focused on the flex picks, on shutting them down. Jace is still up on the table, so is Aurelia. Likely going to see one of those banned out, but it does leave some of the kind of high priority junglers, and it also could be an option where they don't go for either and then look to perhaps trade those kind of power picks.
Definitely could be the case here. So first pick comes in, OpTic. They are 2-0. Those wins last week were against 100 Thieves and Clutch Gaming, two of the other teams that were bottom of the table, and unfortunately for them still are. CLG was the other team alongside OpTic that missed playoffs last time around. So what I'm curious to see, though, is with playstyle improvements, how high can OpTic go? Can they take down CLG? Can they, you know, sort of take care of business against some of the bottom teams from Spring Split, like they have been able to do in that previous split themselves? And then from there, their remaining opponents are going to be playoff teams. And can they tune up enough to then start challenging those squads?
And I think that's really exciting for OpTic because they didn't make any roster changes coming into summer, right? For them, it is about refining what they already had, about being more together on the same page. I think oftentimes they had a lot of strategies that made sense, that the drafts made sense, you know, trying these split push styles, but they didn't always then execute on what that sort of strategy would require. You know, when they were going for split push, they weren't always getting vision for the split pusher, they weren't always ganking for the split pusher, and that is kind of what I'm trying to track here for OpTic is not can your strategies make sense, but can you then kind of follow up on the steps which are required of that strategy.
And so we'll see what comes through. Very high profile pickup, and Silas was grabbed right off the top of this one. Ruin takes Aurelia as the flex between him and Power of Evil. So I'm expecting it top lane personally. And Xayah can allow for a very easy recon segue to round out the first half of the draft. OpTic gonna grab cream of the crop picks for them, as there's still Jace up if you want it. If you want to take both solos very, very early on. They've taken the best jungler they think is in the game, and I'm curious how much they think, okay, CLG's always going recon, or how much they are worried about something getting counterpicked for the next ban phase.
Yeah, there is, you know, that concern, but I don't tend to think that taking recon away from the Xayah really works as well.
No,
I think
that's
recon,
not as important.
you know, generally isn't going to be, you know, as successful there. Sivir certainly can be a pretty decent answer into it if they do elect to go that route. We will see CLG, though, if they grab the recon here, have the opportunity to ban out some of the good support answers, things along the lines of, you know, Morgana even, but they aren't going to grab the recon. They are going to elect to actually prioritize their jungle here thus far, so it is Wiggly grabbing his Jarvan, and he will be going up against Meteos on Sejuani, who had a fantastic week one. Meteos only had 2 deaths across the 2 games, and one of those was executing to a turret as they were winning the game, so certainly performed incredibly well, and we'll see how Wiggly, who also had a very strong week one, you know, in particular in their win, he was very dominant against 100 Thieves, was really pushing amazing around the map, so we'll see if he can kind of replicate some of that success.
So high profile, engaged jungle picks grab CLG. More important to them that they get that engaged jungler than they actually pair up the duo down there. Still, the Jace ban comes in. Keep in mind, CLG do get first dibs on a pick as this ban phase winds down. Both teams need a support and a solo lane, actually, as it stands. So CLG gets the better of that one, and we'll see. There's the recon ban we expect out of OpTic. CLG, one more thing they can remove, and then we'll kind of figure out what they want to take for themselves. I'm expecting CLG to grab first dibs on support and then counterpick the last solo, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense unless they have a, you know, really kind of a support pick that is contingent upon the rest of the draft.
Sure.
Sometimes you have something that you think, okay, it's really good, but only if they don't have X, and then you will see people save that support pick. The Leona ban, pretty interesting there, as it's often seen as kind of a recon counter. I've seen that be very effective a lot of times. This may also be hinting towards the fact that CLG wants to go with a different mage support. You know, you do also see Leona as a very strong answer to things along the lines of the Zyra that he played last time. If you want to play those sort of pokey styles, Engage is often very, very tough to deal with.
Well, a lot of the enchanters are gone right now as they hover the Aatrox. Sorry, not Aatrox, Alistair here. But yeah, with so many of them gone, it's going to be Lux now picked up. Again, we're still assuming Aftershock most likely, but it is going to be another long-range support down there.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense based on the Leona ban. You know, this is another one of those pokey style supports who does want to have range, who does want to kind of dictate the pace of that lane. I do think, though, you know, if Big is comfortable playing it, that Morgana can still be a good answer. You can also look for other hard engage answers. You know, Thresh certainly is an option if they wanted to go for that route. Poppy works very well into both Jarvan and Aurelia, so you could take this for your top lane here, give that to Dokla. He played it last week as well. Being able to block a lot of the dashes there, you know, that is where so much of Aurelia's power is actually in diving back and forth through these minion waves and being able to use those resets in a team fight. Poppy can shut down a lot of what Aurelia wants to do.
Definitely agree, and it means that we're pretty much guaranteed now that Crown is playing Sylas here in the mid lane, and CLG has to plan around that pick now as Thresh comes in for Big. If you're rooted, you can't take a Lantern, but if you can click it in time to get away, you can do that. And now it's time for CLG's final pick. They could always move Lux mid and do something a bit more crazy with that, but that seems a bit less likely. Regardless, though, we'll see what they want to do to round out the composition. What's their mid laner going to be? Is it the Lux move? Is it a different pick? What do they want to do? Of course, Aurelia can go there as well. They can take a Poppy counter pick, which Vladimir would be very good into, and that's what it more looks like there. Aurelia versus Sylas in mid. Vladimir beating up a tank and farming it in the top lane.
Yeah, very likely will be that sort of strategy, but we did say that last week. I remember when Crown actually did play Vladimir, I was like, oh, it's going to go up into the tank at the top lane, and they just decided not to do that, so it isn't guaranteed, but does look like it will be the result. Aurelia also works fairly well into Sylas and has an ultimate that is not very impactful if you do steal it. Great, you throw out the R, but you don't have any resets, you don't have any Qs to actually use off of that. So Vladimir should be able to kind of force out a lot of magic resist also from Dokla, and that is something that I always think is very important when you are talking about a tank. If you are a different type of damage as a top laner than the rest of your team, being able to force out a Spectre's Cowl or an Adaptive Helm and Mercury Treads and these sorts of things early on Dokla means that when he gets to the team fight, guess what? Xayah, Aurelia, J4, all physical damage, and you are going to be less prepared for that reality when you get to that team fight.
Definitely important. We'll see what comes through into this game. If the itemization can make it happen, if the macro is going to work as well. OpTic Gaming 2-0, a good start to the split. Now facing off against Counter Logic Gaming with their new changes. A new top laner imported in, replacing Darshan, who had been their longest standing member. And we'll see if they can get themselves back into playoff form. A tough fight against TSM was their most recent loss, hoping that beating OpTic can be the thing for them. Players getting ready to go, loading up onto the Rift. We are ready to go into this one, OpTic versus CLG.
This is going to be a really exciting one because this does feel like it's CLG that's more set up for that split push. It is OpTic who is more looking for that team fight. You know, now this is 2 out of 3 games here for OpTic where they essentially have their main consistent damage dealer is only Arrow, right? You know, they do have these 4 pseudo frontliners and then Arrow. That's a lot of faith in this marksman player to be getting work done in the team fights. Yes, Crown can put forth some bursts, but you know, he is not going to be the one to actually be winning that fight on his own. It becomes very heavily reliant on that Sivir, and it's cool to see them putting that faith in him once again. Yeah,
and to his credit, I think Arrow has come a little bit back more toward form this split. But you think back when he was on Phoenix One, that was an MVP performance. He had that title to his name, but it hadn't been the same for him in the last year and a half or so. This feels like he's kind of getting back to that form. He's been a good performer so far. Weaker opponents to be clear, but still a possibility now. PoE, and it's going to be a good guess. That's a good, not a lot of damage. Nice, even they're going to maybe have it. Ignite will not be enough. PoE will walk away, but he's down a summoner spell.
Yeah, that stun, though, was critical from PoE. Stunning up 3 members. The only thing that kept him alive there, and perhaps if OpTic was more willing to commit to it, they could have flashed over the stun and guaranteed that kill, but you were never certain that you're going to be able to get it. And they actually do end up getting both summoners from PoE because he has to TP back to lane since they waited so long to do it. So that was honestly a great play here. This is from PoE's vision. He did actually spot someone up on that top side, but assuming that's the jungler, not the bot laner, he had no vision of these guys, but that stun was massive. The boomerang blade does connect on both sides. Crown getting that first passive reset and the stun, and now bound to the bottom side.
Well, 2 hooks for 2 so far. Big's having a really good start as Biofrost is chunked to just 200 HP.
Yeah, look at Arrow, though. He's He's already because I don't believe he had time to go back to base, so spending the spells in mid lane and then having to walk straight down to bot, he is already out of mana.
Yep, not only was he in the mid lane fight, he actually queued one of the brushes in his jungle because he didn't know if they got invaded upon.
Yeah.
Through it, didn't hear any sounds, but said, you know what, let's take the safe road anyway. So yeah, 2-3 Qs on cooldown, and that is a very difficult start. Now it comes to the part where you get level 2 and you start using the spell shield. And as someone who has played actually Sivir and Deluxe a couple times in bot lane, you have this mind game of your spell shield versus her E, the Lucid Singularity. And if she doesn't pop it, you just burn spell shield and it's a 20-second cooldown for nothing.
Yeah, it's really kind of funny watching how some people will play against Sivir. Another thing you do sometimes see players doing is actually intentionally shooting a skill shot to the side of them, trying to get them, you throw a binding, intentionally basically missing out to the side, and hoping that they will, reaction use the spell shield. And then it becomes, is the Sivir good enough to actually sit on that spell shield until they can guarantee that it's going to hit confirm and then use it?
Yep.
And that becomes a pretty high-level mind game. And will be fun to follow that, but up on the top side, Ruin is playing Klepto Vlad. He wants to farm off of Dokla. He wants to scale up and really put himself in a good position to be dominant not only in the team fights, but also in the side lane, which is really where he loves to play.
And puts his trinket down to make sure he can stay safe and wants to go right away onto harassing Dokla off some of that farm.
Doran's Ring is such a curious start here, though, for the Vladimir. I can't say I've really seen that at all. It's almost always going to be a Dark Seal, or even if you want to have more potions that you can go that route, or you just go Doran's Shield. But this is allowing him to have multiple potions at the start, unlike the Doran Shield, and it's still quite a bit of AP.
Yeah, it's nice because it's AP and health, and the health then becomes more AP, which is pretty good, and it's the 5 on hit damage. And Vladimir's auto-attacking on minions is pretty crap, so getting the extra 5 is helpful. So it's very much my laning phase is better, and especially when Poppy doesn't hit you, it is probably the best aggressive laning item you could get.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. If you're saying, hey, I don't need the extra potions from the Dark Seal, I don't need the regen from that, I'm not going to be getting harassed, so Doran Shield isn't the answer. In these types of situations, a lot of players will just try to go the greedy buy, which is going to be something like a Ruby Crystal, and go quickly into CDR. But again, as you say, that is less aggressive. You don't have the AP, you don't have the on-hit, help your CS in. So, pretty interesting choice. We'll see how it works out for Rune.
Definitely interesting. We'll see. There's certainly logic in it, and we now watch as the mid lane comes through again. Temporary farm lead for Power View, but his minion wave is bigger. Big trade comes in there, but can't get a return auto attack onto Crown, who is waiting. And wave clearing. Good stun, and actually Crown, taking a lot of damage to that one. Kingslayer gets the health back up, and over the wall he goes. What a flash! Oh, that was beautiful! PoE finds the kill, and his health bar is big enough! A solo kill in a 1v2!
That was incredible from PoE. Meteos even committing the flash to bail Crown out, but Crown goes down regardless and blows his own summoner. This is a no summoner mid laner who just got a kill in a 1v2 for first blood.
Oh my, but now that's going to be a flay in the front line. A lot of damage and a big flash away, but Pwiggly's here. Flash then guarantees it, finds the first knockup. Now a slow on the arrow. Spell shield not going to hit much of anything, actually. Still running away, will stay alive, but quickly 2 kills on the board for CLG.
Yeah, that is really big. And you can see Power of Evil. Looks like he wants to go Wit's End. So he actually does grab the early recurve bow. This very likely will mean he is going to be going hardcore for the split push. Here is the pro view replay. Hits the stun for the reset. Does go in, getting him very low. Careful to not overextend. But there is the flash. It's just too little too late. He goes down despite flashing out, and Power of Evil able to walk away, but no.
Oh my.
Oh, just as we're singing his praises, he gets solo killed, and his TP still on cooldown from level 1, so despite the solo kill there, this actually may end up putting him behind. Look at how many minions he's losing. He's going to be falling way down in experience, and that is the punishment for that level 1 play. Definitely coming up big here, so gonna get to watch it one more time. PoE trying to go in here, did hit the stun, but Crown plus the minions.
He's six first?
Yeah, he's 6 first because of that minion advantage. Despite the dodge on the stun, just doesn't matter. Power of Evil didn't have a minion to get out, and the ultimate slow was more than enough.
Wow, okay, well, good pickup there, and we're back onto the map with a 500 gold difference. CLG knocking down some wards, and this mid lane is 9 CS apart, and Wits End's good, but Armguard's stacking up already.
I mean, that's got to feel so bad for PoE, honestly. He just kind of threw the lane a little bit there. He was in such a good spot. And when you go aggressive in the face of a big wave, not only will you take all the damage from the wave, but if you mess up, if you die like you did there, well, you lose all that experience, you lose all that gold. He very likely could have just farmed out the wave, hit level 6, and then won an all-in.
Yeah, maybe so, but, you know, he got that kill. He's like, all right, I have money.
Feeling himself.
Has better items, you know? It's like, well, it worked last time, so what could go wrong this one around? And, well, now Mina's going for a red buff steal, but he's in the face of 2 opponents. The ward lets him know that. Still a possibility. Okay, no longer is. Doesn't even hit the blast. I feel like he should Scry's Bloom, but whatever, walks away. Wants to be safe against Wiggly as he's on top of ward, so leaves that one up too. Dokla knocks down a cannon minion, and it's 46-61 in CS. You mentioned the Spectre's Cowl. That's in inventory right now. The Doran Shield helping that as well, and not too bad for this Poppy.
Yep.
I think it's probably expected how this matchup goes.
Yeah, fairly expected, but it just kind of gets worse. You know, the early levels aren't actually the horrible part against Vladimir. It's generally once you have CDR items, which Rune now has, plus level 9, that's where it starts to get really oppressive, and you'll see Rune fall into this kind of pattern of when Poppy is farming melee minions, you're auto-attacking the turret. Then when Poppy is going for the range minions is when you are actually auto-attacking the Poppy and proccing the Klepto, and you just kind of rinse and repeat because you're always going to have the shove, so he's going to push him in, harass the turret, and when he tries to grab those range minions, he's going to be autoing and just stacking Klepto gold.
Yep, 290 gold from Kleptomancy a couple seconds ago when I checked. So that's a pretty good early start. His overall gold is 3K, so it's a 10% gold increase, which is, that sounds solid. Pretty good opening there. 700 gold still CLG's lead as the squad is up a kill. Bot lane farm almost equal. Mid lane actually going Crown's way after that most recent skirmish.
Yeah, and it can feel so helpless when you're like, well, maybe I should try to trade with the Vladimir, and then you look at his inventory and he has 5 potions.
Like, no.
It's like, no, I guess we'll just sit here. Hopefully the team will do something.
Good hit from Dokla, and he does a bit here, but yeah, Ruin. There. Okay, queued back some health. Now he's level 8. Level 9 is the really scary one.
Yeah, and I mean, mostly you're actually trading with Poppy's mana bar. You're unlikely to be able to actually kill him at this point of the game, but again, he works on the melee minions, you work on the turret, he walks up for the range minions, and he will auto-attack to proc the Klepto gold. You just rinse and repeat this over and over. Dokla needs to spend mana to help last it under that turret. Vladimir does not, and we'll have to see if they can make things happen elsewhere, because you know, mid lane going very well for Crown, so that is looking nice for them, and he's going to look for Wiggly.
Yeah, big damage there. Grabs the Cataclysm in case he can use it for something else, as bottom scuttle is grabbed without issue from Meteos here. And this is still a pretty tight game, waiting for what can happen. Both these teams missing playoffs last time around. Might have what it takes to make it in this time, though.
Yeah, and both of them missing it pretty narrowly. You know, it wasn't a huge gap. We did actually see both 5 and 6 who made playoffs were under 500, right? You know, these were not teams that were massively ahead. You know, OpTic and CLG sitting around, I believe, 7 wins in that sort of area. So certainly, you know, we're only a game or 2 behind what that playoff pace was, and with some improvements certainly can look to challenge for it. But the difficult thing is, you know, as we heard Santorin talking about earlier today, is that it's not just teams coming in at the same level. Some teams are improving and getting better and better, so you have to make sure you're not only improving, but improving faster than your opponents if you want to have a better result.
Doublelift earlier talked about the fact that he wants more North American teams to step up to have better competition across the league, and well, in a lot of cases I think we've had a fairly competitive summer split here with some of the top dogs taking some losses. We just had FlyQuest vs TSM, a very exciting result as well, and now Biofrost is making his move around the map. He's got himself brown boots, he's got the upgraded spell thief, looking for some ward coverage to maybe remove as he knocks on his control ward, and his Xayah will be alone under the turret.
Yep, and he is going to be able to potentially look for something. You know, if you can actually find an opportunity for a play at level 6 with Ignite, you do have a fair amount of burst on that Lux, so certainly can look for something if the opportunity does arise. But OpTic happily farming up. You know, everyone doing pretty well across the board. Yes, there is some cause for concern in that Poppy 1v1, but Poppy wants the team fight. And Sivir, you know, once you start hitting those items, is going to be enabling a lot of these guys fairly well and putting out a lot of damage yourself.
There's a big thing I want to point out with Biofrost right now. His support item gold is catastrophically low. 279. By comparison, 611 for Nomad's Eye. So the Sight Stone's already done for Big. Biofrost is halfway there only. He's not been able to hit turrets, not been able to hit champions. CLG do not have wards.
Yeah, and that is a situation that you can sometimes fall into when you want to get AP, you want that damage from the Spell Thieves. But if you are nervous about getting hooked, if you're playing in the lanes such as Thresh and Blitzcrank, sometimes you're not actually comfortable to get those auto attack trades off and to be constantly moving up, and harassing. And if you're not constantly proccing Spell Thieves, it is garbage.
Oh,
what a play!
What a play! Big does pull Wiggly out, but stun comes in. Could be hit again. Crown not able to come forward. Looks like he's got the E going the other way anyway. And well, Wiggly loses the Summoner spell, and Big, every hook I've seen has landed, and that play was nice as well.
Yeah, very nicely timed play. Doesn't just drop it immediately, waits for the flag and drag, and is rewarded with the Summoner. So now perhaps in a situation like this, as Biofrost, maybe you should just go coin as well. If you're not comfortable harassing and poking with the Spell Thieves, the gold generation is terrible, right?
Yep.
That is where it is. So coin is always kind of considered to be that more passive item, and could have been a better choice here.
Okay, well now a stun towards Crown. Big damage here. A flash gets him away as now the re-engage is in for Meteos. Now it's a flash with Wiggly. Is stunned up. Will it be the re-engage? No, it's Cataclysm actually pushing Meteos out. He's now gone as, yeah, that's a pickup on Wiggly. Now that stun comes in. What a teleport for Dokla. Looking at round 3 as Biofrost is stunned. And 3 kills in a row. OpTic have the eye on the prize.
5-man mid for OpTic. It's them TPing in. It's them answering that play so quickly. Ruin just decides to stay top lane. Maybe didn't feel like he could actually change the course of that fight, but OpTic is going to get so much out of this. Should be able to get some turret plates, get the kills, grab the dragon. Feeling pretty good about it.
Feeling very good for an OpTic fan right now. They've got the gold lead, the Drake, and that was a huge pickup. Now Crown 2, 1, and 2. Watch that fight once again from OpTic slaughtering.
Yeah, here this is one more time, but Meteos right place, right time to answer the fight. He does go forward. Crown doesn't have his abilities up yet, so it does look like it's starting to turn around a little bit the other way. Then the cooldowns come up for Crown. One rotation takes down Wiggly. Dokla does arrive, hits the wall stun on Power of Evil. He falls as well. TP coming from top lane, TP coming from bot lane. OpTic fully committing to the fight. And you love to see a team that is on the same page like that.
Huge pickups right there. Essence Reaver completed for Arrow, who shows up and got a kill onto that fight. Of course, Sixday has this item himself, but this is still a very solid game. It's flipped around, the gold lead now. OpTic plus the move speed helping as well. Plates are gone, no turrets killed, but a little bit of gold picked up across these various lanes. And Rift Herald still spotted out. Luxy making sure that they can feel safe. And yeah, 3 plates apiece, kind of split across the lanes. Ruin doing most of this one for CLG. I believe he's the richest member on that team, and yeah, he's actually 1,000 gold over anyone pretty much on the CLG side. So this is very much going to be the Ruin show. It feels like if CLG's to win.
Yeah, and this is how he played so many games in the TCL. That is how they won. Was, yep, things aren't going necessarily that well elsewhere, but they're going great for Ruin. He is optimizing his farm. He is really prioritizing himself. And yeah, CLG is basically just a couple hundred gold behind, despite the fact that they're 2 kills down, despite the fact that there is a pretty big farm advantage for OpTic in the mid lane as well, thanks to the fact that Ruin has Klepto, has farmed away at some of those turret plates, and also has a CS advantage.
We're at 475 from Klepto, so that is
a
ton part of it.
Minutes.
Yep, it's still about, well, now bet under 10% of his gold, 5,800 on him as a champion. But doing some nice stuff right there and building towards high damage. Needlessly large rod picked up now as well, as the protobot's already completed. Now what's next is OpTic moves forward. Meteos gets bound, but gets away.
The thing that's kind of interesting to me about Klepto is I think people sometimes focus too much on the gold that's from it and forget that it actually does have combat power as well, because you're picking up elixirs, you're picking up additional sustain in the form of potions throughout the game. So, it's not just the gold. Certainly that is mostly why you're going there, but you are not sacrificing all combat power by grabbing it. When he does grab elixirs of sorcery and iron and these sorts of things later in the game, it's going to be helpful for the team fights too.
Yep. Meanwhile, he's got an elixir of plus attack damage and physical damage leech, so unlucky there in the inventory. But in general,
you're going to be hitting with autos with Klepto, freak.
Woo! 15 hits. All right, well, it's something at the very least. Regardless, that is another objective going OpTic's way. They still are in the driver's seat in this mid game. Wiggly, though, able to answer in the bottom side with this potential red buff steal. Some movement around for Dokla, but really only spotting. Is he on Krugs? No? Okay, maybe I'm fine. But still, feels endangered. Sort of, it's like Millhouse on the bus. I don't know if it's Mailhouse or not. I forget, but that's the meme. I'm in danger, he chuckles. And
when you have to explain it that much is when you just give up.
Thank you, Arthur, who talks about
headset. Your head, freak. Just stop.
I'm already behind.
No more words. You're on
Dale, take it away.
All right, so we can look over to the top side. You can clearly see where OpTic was kind of prioritizing this vision over in this quadrant of the map. They actually had 4 control wards in this area. They just now replaced 1 on the bottom side. So that was certainly to try to get that Rift Herald. They have been rewarded with that. And you can see, through that vision placement, that was the plan. So now you get to kind of track what can Meteos get done with this. First turret is still on the table. Yes, the turret plates are gone, but you still want to see them at least cash in on that first turret on the back of perhaps a kill into a turret or even just grouping and trying to force a play.
Well, a couple of good power spikes are coming through on the CLG side. Wits End long done. Merc Treads should help really get away from things like Sejuani and this Thresh. Almost to that second item here is Ruin as well. Death Cap is such a massive power spike when it comes through, and you can single-handedly win a team fight with that kind of stuff. The magic resist options are quite limited on the OpTic side, being the only mage in the team. Keep in mind, support Lux is a WMAX champion. I know in solo queue, they're all maxing E and Q and trying to be like the hyper carry mage. In pro play, you max the shield, the ability is nuts. Think of Biofrost more like a Soraka or maybe a Nami than Brand, and that's going to be more accurate to what's going to be happening in the team fights.
Yeah, I mean, especially the return on the shield. So the pass-through right now on the way out is essentially shielding for 103. On the way back, it's shielding for over 200. So it's so effective if you are accurate and hitting multiple members. If you hit 5 people, just the return shield is 1k of shielding for a team fight. But here is OpTic grouping up with that Rift Herald, and they will get the first turret.
But they don't get first turret gold. Arrow was closest and wasn't even in range, so 50 gold apiece, 250 total for that turret pickup. The rest of them going to be worth actually more, as Crown is soloing the bottom lane without issue. And it's still going to be gold in the pocket. It's still more money for OpTic. It's still advantages for them as they're now opening up on this Mountain Drake as well.
Yeah, and we've seen how much Crown wants this split push, in these previous games of the season. Silas is someone with access to the turret who can really get a lot of damage done because your passive does work on those turrets, so you can constantly be proccing that passive on it, getting the additional damage down. And it'll be interesting to see what CLG's game plan is here. Are they just going to forever commit to that split push? Because, yes, Wits End is great in a 1v1 against Silas, but you have not really any health besides that Ruby Crystal. You're no armor at all. You're very squishy when you're going up against someone potentially like Arrow. So if you do get locked down whatsoever, you can get burst out very easily. And he's now going in towards that Triforce. So anything like Asterix that helps you have that team fight survivability is very, very far off.
And he's spotted. There's a bit of damage right there, and a big tackle, actually. A lot of damage in Ruin. He's in danger now, trying to run away, still slow. Dokla, nice point-blank stun, and here comes the rest of the squad. Long-range stun is answered now here, but Ruin might be tackled. That is some well-played fights, and Dokla picking up a kill in the top lane. Revenge for 19 minutes of laning against Vladimir.
It's a nice punish, honestly. Lazy recall there. Does get a lot out of it, taking him down. Dokla's now sitting 2-0. Ruin, though, critically, death cap complete on that. So now he is very, very strong. He has the CDR, he has the death cap, and you can get to that point where you are able to one-round the backline. Yes. But the difficulty for him is going to be, can you get through all these frontliners, the Poppy and the Sejuani and the Thresh, who are going to be in your face and trying to push you away? Because if you cannot, they're certainly going to be much less effective against a lot of these people.
Random skill other things to point out. Pro play Jarvan has moved off of WMAX second after the most recent round of nerfs, so it's more attack speed to the squad instead, with your flag going up there as your second most important priority. Even with Cinder, Hulk, Jarvan, it is over there now. So the champion is overall less tanky, but it's actually going to be more supportive in terms of giving sticks a damage output, especially for the builds that Zayas tend to go, which is only 1 Zeal. The attack speed is actually pretty valuable there.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And when you're adding that in combination with kind of all of the Lux shielding, those are things that are kind of some of that hidden power, which really can make a huge difference in a team fight, but don't necessarily really show themselves obviously in why you won the fight and why you lost the fight. And definitely something to keep in mind. But so far, a fairly slow-paced game, and it is Crown knocking down another turret out to the side lane. He has a significant gold advantage here over PoE. He's up nearly 60 CS at this point in the game, and certainly PoE is having to kind of give over that priority.
Thanks to his turret kills, he's even about 1,000 gold over the Vladimir as well. So he is peerless on the Rift right now. Level 14 is higher than everyone as well. 2 over the mid lane, as you mentioned. Still 1 over Ruin, and now Wiggly caught out by another hook. And the plays just keep being perfect. But the flash might get him to safety. Some more slows coming in. Now maybe a re-engage. The Lux Ult's a bit better on the one side. He's got ability power in his mix, but it's still OpTic able to walk away, staying alive. All the health bars healthy enough. No kills.
Yeah, OpTic able to walk away there. It was a really nice engage. They at least got the stopwatch off J4, which is a huge playmaking tool. They get the flash off J4 as well. So his team fight is going to be a lot weaker as a result. And Big has been on point with those plays. That's twice now this game, playing the Jarvan out of that. And again, Ruin not making any motions to look to join the fight. He wants to be in the side lane. He wants to have Poppy only answering him.
Slowly working forward and forward. 2 major completed items, still stacking up gold to go for the third. 1,000 in inventory, and it still, to me, is about Ruin versus most of the rest of OpTic now. As they're once again, it's OpTic playing up inside this jungle, looking with the aggressive control ward, looking to maybe knock down a red buff, but that's not around just yet. Instead, it is this bottom outer turret falling. CLG only within 1 in this one. OpTic knocking down all the outer. CLG have yet to crack mid. Now an engage potentially for Wiggly. Nice jukes by Crown, getting away from the roots though. They're gonna walk away cleanly. Has another Irelia ult to his name.
Yeah, and
a bit of damage.
As he hits 16, that is going to be where you can really start stealing a lot of the ultimates. It does become such a low cooldown at that point in the game, and Wiggly just getting pushed out of his jungle over and over. Ruin is the strongest member on CLG, and if he is not up here, OpTic feels very comfortable to be moving around in the CLG jungle, trying to take away this vision, because that area in the jungle is really where you have to be to actually get access to the Baron Pit. You know, if you cannot walk in and get in here and get in here and get vision around that Baron Pit, you have no idea whether or not OpTic is even starting it.
This is a good look for OpTic though. They're having a good start to their split, taking out, or at least facing, the other non-playoff teams and finding a stun now. Hard engage towards Wiggly. This time he will drop, and Crown is on a killing spree. Look how low Biofrost is. There could be a re-engage if they can find it, but it's just over the wall, and that Fog of War is so deadly for CLG.
Yeah, and that is the payoff. They finally are able to get that pick. No vision for CLG for so long, and if you use the flag to check the brush as Wiggly, well then now you have no escape, and eventually they are able to get that pick there. Now on the Baron, Ruin is going to be forced to get over here, so 3 members of CLG in the area, but they have no jungler. This should be OpTic's.
It would be a miracle if CLG stolen. It won't come through. A well-timed smite. Meteos picks it up, and OpTic massively ahead now, poised to be a 3-0 team.
Yeah, OpTic looking really, really good. Credit to them for how they're playing in this mid-game stage around the Baron. Their vision has been very, very good. They realize that they are so much stronger at this point in the game if Ruin is not there. And now that Ruin has given over this advantage and he has kind of been prioritizing himself and not been able to really extend it, I don't know how well CLG is going to be able to hold on in a straight-up siege, because at this point, you have IE Essence Reaver, Arrows getting really strong, you have these 4 members for the front line that are very tanky and are going to be sped up by the Sivir ultimate. Their 5v5 is nuts.
Really is incredibly strong right here, and we'll see when the siege actually comes in earnest. Yeah, they're not going for the mid lane right now. They're going to let that one get cleared away as Silas pushing the top side.
Exactly. They're just allowing Crown to have that time. If no one answers him, he's just going to take the turret for free. But Ruin on this pink ward is really what this is all about. If OpTic overcommits and tries to walk up and start hitting that turret, Ruin is going to come, but he has not been showing on the map for a long time, so OpTic should be aware of this possibility, and that is why they're cheating to the top side of the map. You can see where Arrow and Big are moving. They're just moving in that top side jungle, farming it out. Until someone else answers Crown, you should not be doing anything as the 4-man squad. And
CLG tried. Stixxay played really far up. He was in 300 range of videos saying, come on, press Q on me, throw your ult out, start engaging on this, and wouldn't bite. OpTic did play it safely. The top lane turret fell. No one for the engage. But they're hoping that they can force OpTic to bite and the flank can come through.
But there's just no reason. Ruin's been missing on the map for like a minute at least. I just see no reason why you should ever put yourself in that spot.
Well, they're going to find the hook though. Damage on a Wiggly, looking for the attack right here. Over into the back line. It's kill after kill. Crown's got 2 already, hopping for a little bit more. As now Ruin is in the mix. He's going to drop for a 3rd. Make it it's 4 kills overall. PUE, the only one left alive, trying to run away from a hook. But this is OpTic walking all over the CLG base.
Yeah, and they could potentially get a couple inhibitors here. The respawn timers are pretty low, so I don't think they can end the game. But with the Baron buff, This is likely going to be 2 inhibitors. We'll see if they want to try to push for the end. Crown is in that top side, so doesn't feel like they're electing to go for it just yet. The pings are onto the top inhibitor.
And the body language is at least aggressive as the mid inhib drops. The top inhibitor going to lose its turret, and you've still got 15 seconds on the Vladimir. That's how much time they're willing to spend inside this base. A quick Lux ult steal is going to be nice. There goes the second inhibitor, and now with 3 seconds or 5 on Vladimir, is there a fight? PoE walks forward, but no, that's a nice stop there. Poppy W gets Wiggly out of there, and it's safe recalls for OpTic.
Yeah, and I mean, PoE was getting so low there, and this was just such an obvious play for CLG. I respect the attempt on the Vladimir flank, but then they just stayed there for like another minute, another 2 minutes. When it comes in, Meteos is waiting. He knows where he's going to be. He's there to body block the Vladimir. By the time Vladimir is involved in the fight at all, 3 members are already dead on the side of CLG. So, you know, that was not the best attempt from CLG. They are easily handled by OpTic, and now everything has fallen apart for them. 2 inhibitors already down. OpTic is out on the map, likely just going to grab this dragon and then look to try to close things out. Look at Crown. He is absurdly ahead at this point in the game. His death cap is complete. He already has, 3 full items plus pieces of another, compared to just the 2 items there on Power of Evil. He is level 17 compared to 14. A 3-level advantage is absurd.
3,000 gold over any other player on the Rift right now. Crown continues to be a huge force for OpTic Gaming as they are looking at an almost guaranteed at this point 3-0 start to their split. Good stuff for this squad. This CLG just must sit inside their base.
Yeah, and if Crown is playing like this, the sky is the limit for this team. Him and Meteos have been such a strong duo, and really, across the map, this team has been looking strong. Vladimir ult now stolen. Even just the damage amp on that for the rest of the squad will be very powerful. A Sivir plus Vladimir essentially now given over to the other team. They are closing in. Crown is just escorting these minions in top and mid. You can see the pings onto those supers coming in from that top wave. They're just waiting for this minion wave to crash. Another round of supers coming up mid, but the TP's coming in behind. CLG is going to look to try to engage. Ruin is very far away, though.
Okay, this is going to be the play. Is there a miracle for CLG? The flash in forward, a nice Poppy eviction, though. And now it's Ruin trying to stay alive. Stopwatch in. As a heal, here comes Crown. Look for something getting pushed back as well. The team peels and knocks down towards Ruin. That's a 1 for 0. Now the re-engage was PoE. Nice stop right there as Dokla pulls him right back into the squad. They're going to get that second kill, no problem. Nice stopwatch keeps Crown safe, and there's a lantern to KC needs it. It's already 2-0, but Crown just going to walk forward for even more damage. Look for the next kill. Underneath the turret, doesn't care. The flash forward from Meteos sets up on a 6A. Here's the jump in. Looking at everything else coming across. 3 kills. Looking at the 4th and the 5th. This is just completely decimation. It is OpTic taking down the base. A 30-minute win and a 3-0 start to the summer split. As they go for a bit of style points, diving in the back line, making sure they can pad the KDA. 13-2 OpTic win.
And what a start to the season here for OpTic. 3-0. Completely in control, it felt like, of this one. Really, the lone kind of bright spot of this game was that first blood 1v2 for Power of Evil. After that, it felt like all OpTic all the time. OpTic played very well to their win conditions. Dokla surviving in that lane, and then their play with vision around the Baron, giving them that pick, getting them the Baron buff. They were in the driver's seat, and they knew exactly what to do with it.
Yep, even their worst matchup, having to blind pick the Poppy and getting counter-picked here by the Vladimir, ends the game only down 30 CS. Deathless the whole way through. Poor Ruin, actually, no kills assists on him either. A 13-2 win. They were not giving up kills. OpTic were in control, as you mentioned. It was them pretty much all the time.
And Crown has just had a monstrous start to the season. Also have to give so much credit to Meteos now. Really, I almost don't even want to count the execute. Like, I'm going to say 1 death in 3 games. Like, he has had an absurd start to the season.
He's not even, yeah, he's not dead in this game anyway. Meteos 1-0-9. So beautiful stuff across so far the summer split. Fast wins. And I'm excited now for the next game because they're playing the other undefeated, well, no, sorry, not undefeated team, but they're playing FlyQuest, who actually look very solid. They took down TSM today. FlyQuest with a fairly hard schedule. That's an exciting match because that's going to be the first playoff team that OpTic play. The first playoff team from Spring Split. That's a win where you take it and, okay, now I'm convinced. Now I'm convinced you guys really have improved across the break between spring and summer, and you're a real contender for a shot at the top 6, maybe beyond. Have looked good so far. We'll see what else they have in store for us. We'll again see them tomorrow. But for more on that win, Pastry is standing by with OpTic's Chain Warden to take it away.
Thank you very much. I'm here with OpTic support Big. Big, you told me that before you were actually kind of nervous about that game. What was going on? That looked fine to me.
Well, it's just I didn't really practice Thresh. I didn't play his scrims or anything, and I just pulled it out. I missed like some hooks in the end. And I was like really sweating because I thought Arrow would die.
Was there any reason in particular, maybe into the Lux, why you wanted to play it, or was it just kind of feeling like a Thresh game?
Arrow said it was a good time, so I just believed in him. That's not it.
Certainly working out there. I have to ask you though, OpTic still undefeated and looking to go 4-0 after week 2, but you play FlyQuest tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I think we have a good chance of winning right now, actually. After like our improvements towards the end of this week, I thought we were becoming better and better as opposed to last split.
And is there anything in particular that's changed kind of in the summer that's made OpTic that much more successful to start things off?
I think it's just the way we play now. Like, we're not looking for a slow game. We're looking just to end and push our leads more.
Well, it's certainly working out so far. Congratulations on the win today. We're going to throw it back now to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. Big calling out some improvements in the squad over the recent weeks of practice, and it has resulted in a 3-0, joining Cloud9 undefeated at the top of the tables here. That is OpTic with a solid win over CLG. I want to dive right into it, though, break down the game, then we can kind of talk about holistically what this means for OpTic. Let's start in the draft.
I love the little nugget that we just heard from Big, that they had not been scrimming with Thresh at all this week, and his AD carry just said, oh, it's time for Thresh. And they're like, oh, I guess I'll believe in you. All right, I'll play this.
I like that faith.
That's the kind of faith you want to have in your team, that you don't need to practice it, that your teammates trust you on champions that you have not pulled out that week in scrims, and it works, and that just strengthens the bond between teammates.
For CLG, I'm a little disappointed in how they approached the draft. They were so greedy that they didn't actually grab any of the combos that are good together. They could have had Xayah Rakan. They could have had Aurelia Sejuani. They go Aurelia Xayah, so the enemy team takes Sejuani, and then they ban the Rakan because they go Jarvan. So you end up with this weird amalgamation of like power picks that didn't get their other half with them.
Right.
And I think it was a really, really greedy draft. And, you know, I'm not going to say the whole game broke down to draft, but what they could have had as power positions, a mid-jungle duo that should beat all other mid-jungle duos against, if it is the Sylas mid lane, and then you can beat, you know, OpTic's biggest win condition, which is Crown, but they didn't really set themselves up for that in the draft.
I think their concern with grabbing the Aurelia Sejuani is the prevalence of Olaf right now. Meteos is a great Olaf, and we've seen it as a good answer to the Sejuani, to the Aurelia as well. Like Smithy played it in their match against TSM, I believe, where he just crushed the Aurelia with the Kennen and Olaf. So I think it's kind of that, but I'm still with you on this one. Let them pick it, try it out. At least you have a strength, some sort of power in your draft. You're like, okay, these 2v2 should be able to win it. If you actually get ahead, you will be able to beat an Olaf anyways.
Either way, CLG feels a little handicapped coming out of Champion Select as a result of kind of the mismatch or the lack of those duos that love to play alongside each other champion-wise. But I do want to zero in on the mid lane, because perhaps the best player on each team is the mid laner, Power of Evil against Crown. And for both of them, they'll pick up their own solo kill in this one.
Yeah, skill matchup all around. Great play by Power of Evil, recognizing that he can go in and actually get that kill, and then luckily they're able to get there in time to back it up. But here, I really like this one by Crown in return. He's getting engaged on, but he focuses his Q on the minion wave to clear it out because he knows he's about to hit 6. So he very intelligently uses abilities on creeps to get that ultimate off and give him the advantage in this fight, and kills him in the second rotation of abilities. So really smart play, high-level mid lane 2v2 action going on there. And I think, you know, you could tell that this was the focal point for both teams.
Yeah, very much a heads-up play there from Crown, and I guess it just continues to kind of build some of the excitement around this import here in the LCS, right? This idea that, you know, Crown at his peak can entirely dictate and control games. There was that stint in his career where that aspect of his play was almost forgotten as he was relegated to the Malzahars and whatnot. But here, to give him, or to see him be given the agency to make plays, and to see OpTic seemingly honing in on Crown as the win condition for their team, is really what I start to come away with here.
It might just be one of the most successful imports we're having so far, even though first play was a little shaky. Now it's starting to come alive. OpTic Gaming is looking like a legitimate contender in this league so far. They keep improving. Meteos continues to not die. Crown delivers. Dokla is on a good champion. He's making his own plays, which is something that was not happening in spring, where he was just left on an island and just thrown to the dogs.
Not playing Yorick all day, every day anymore.
Exactly. Yes.
He was on an island again, but he's on Poppy, like you said, instead of the Yorick, which is a huge difference. So when these fights break out in the mid lane, he's actually able to collapse first. And we're talking about how important the mid lane is. It's a 2v2, it's pretty close. But then the fact that it's the Poppy who's going to start teleporting in first, and it's going to be the mid laner who's actually able to collapse. So when the support roams up and the AD roams up and everyone's coming together, there's that one extra person in their favor that allows them to turn this 3-0.
5-man squad for OpTic. They've put all 3 of their victories together in that fashion, with grouping up and winning the 5v5s. It hasn't necessarily been hard smashing every lane across the board, but they've done it in a somewhat systematic way, this being one of their cleanest victories to date, as you can see by that gold graph. But that's where I want to take a step back and contextualize the 3-0 start for OpTic, because while, hey, this is a huge step up from Spring Split's performance record-wise, we do have to acknowledge the opponents that they've faced so far and who they have yet to face in terms of really getting a sense for how good this squad is.
That's a good point. They have not gone up against the cream of the crop so far. But, hey, dispatching of weaker teams is the very first thing that you need to do when you're trying to make a run for being one of the top teams in the league. You cannot afford to drop these games, because when you go into playoffs, it's going to matter. It's going to bite you in the ass when you look back and like, oh, we lost week 1 to the last place team, and now we're 1 win away from actually making it into playoffs. So these are just as important now as they will be in week 9.
And it's the perfect kind of ramp up into what is about to be a very difficult stretch where you're going up.
This is the gauntlet, man.
This
They're about to run
the
the
top
damn
4
gauntlet.
of NA from last split. But you get to go in with a 3-game momentum. You get to go in feeling yourself in the draft and with your compositions and in-game play as well. So you probably are going to hit some speed bumps here.
Yeah.
You probably will drop some games if you're being realistic.
Yep.
But it's what you can learn during that time, and the fact that you also, with how good you're looking, can pick up a number of wins and insert yourself very easily into the top half of the league conversation.
Fantastic start for OpTic. The next 4 is the real barometer for how excited we should be about this squad and the
I
improvements
could
they've
see
made.
them winning all of those.
I think
Right?
I can see a way that they win all 4 of those games.
Yeah.
I agree with you entirely. I think, to Mark's point, I don't necessarily think they're favored in many of them. Maybe the FlyQuest one. You could maybe make an argument that they're favored over FlyQuest, given FlyQuest's current attempts at, slightly adjusting and changing their play style. But outside of that, I'd say they're underdogs in their matchups, but with clear ways to win.
Well, I mean, like, even TSM doesn't look that great right now. We've seen Team Liquid drop a game versus Echo Fox and have been a little shaky at points today. Like, they could realistically, like, if you're just looking at quality of play right now, go toe-to-toe with every single one of them, but maybe C9, but it's super close.
I'm loving the fact that OpTic is making this a conversation. They're a very exciting team here in summer 2019 for the LCS. Clutch Gaming and Golden Guardians, though, load onto the Rift for Game 5. If you're a diehard Hoonie fan, or Froggen fan, looking to show some support, check out the LCS Team Pass available in-store today. Pass earns you special watch rewards for supporting your team and adds a team-specific chroma for Dragon Slayer Braum. Meet us back here after the break for that 5th and final game.